Welcome back to the Old Iron Lever channel. My name is Bob, and this is the Bending Brake Project. In this segment, we're going to see the building of the clamp fingers, and we won't follow the plans exactly like they have them here because nothing else, the size of the brake that I'm making is different from the one in the plans. But we'll have enough various different sizes of fingers so that you can make a sheet metal bend of about like an inch wide all the way up to almost 30 inches wide in I think quarter-inch increments. Well, we're back to the last major piece to be made, or pieces. This is going to be the bending brake fingers, and the way I got them laid out, I originally laid out, we got 30.5 inches on the total width. And I was going to do a 16, an 8, a 4, a 2, a 1, and some smaller ones, or slightly larger ones, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4, whatever. Anyway, I think what I'm going to do instead of the 16 is I'm going to do 2 8s. So I have 3 8s, a 4, a 2, a 1, a 1 1/4, a 1 1/2, and 1 3/4, something like that. So I can make up combinations. And if I want to, I can make some 1/8 inch ones too. 1 1/8, 1 3/8, 5 8, and 7 8. So I can get down to 1/8 of an inch. I don't know how necessary that's going to be. So the one thing I've got to do is make sure that the stock I'm starting with is consistent from one place to one piece to the other. So I want the thickness to be the same after I get all this mill scale worked off of it. I want the corners and edges to be, or the fork sides to be all square. And then this has to be the same thickness. Then I'm going to put it, I have a fixture I use for making 45-degree cuts, and I'm going to trim the one end of them all off to the same. I'll lock the fixture in place once I get them all cleaned up. And then I'll get the 45-degree end, and that will be the piece of the finger that sits down on the base. And then there's a notch that locates it on the bar that runs across between the two sides, and a hole or 2 or 3 or whatever in the top. So anyway, that's kind of the basic plan. Pretty simple setup here. I'm just going to face it off with I got a 3-inch indexable end mill. It's a big old honker. It will cut the sides or the bottom face. So I'm going to use it to face this, and then I'll also trim the sides with it too. My vise doesn't open wide enough to hold a 6-inch piece of steel, so I moved the jaw from the inside to the back, and the vise is all trimmed in, and we're ready to roll. So this isn't going to be terribly interesting, so once I've done a little bit of this, I'll shut the camera down until I get down to something else. So I'm just going to come up to it and touch off, and I'll kind of walk around a little bit and make sure I'm on the high or the lowest spot. All right, I'm going to call that my starting point. And it'll take about, I think I'm in the lowest part of the whole thing, so I'm just going to take 5 thousandths off. Or 5 1/2. I'll get this last one when I have them all, because I want them all the same height. The width I don't care about because I'm going to cut them off anyway. But so I'm going to get them all in one position and gang mill them if I can across the top and clean them all to the same height. Then we'll get to that. It's not going to be this height, and it'll probably be significantly less. Thought I'd bring up something. A lot of you guys are going to know this, but when you're having to make several passes milling like that, it's pretty tough to have your mill dead on. So you know, I got mine trammed in pretty well. But let's just say I'm going to make a picture here. Let's just say, thought I'd point out something when I'm doing a big face cut like this. Okay, I got a 6x8 piece of steel there, and I don't have any cutters that big. The biggest one I got is that 3-incher. So we can take a cut. You know, let's say this is more, you know, just a little less than the width of the whole cutter, and we have the knot or the tilt just a little bit off, which it always will be. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that we're using a 3-inch mill, and this is 3 inches, and we dive down here, I don't know, 20 thousandths. It's quite a bit out of tram. Then we move over the width of the mill, and we take another pass. We dive down another 20 thousandths at the end of that. Okay, can you see that if we cut the number of pass, or the width of the pass, so we go only half the width of the mill, now we're going to take more cuts, but we're only going to get half the depth of irregularity in those cuts as we had with the wider cut. So and just to kind of drive that home, here, feel this. Can hardly feel. You really can't feel those junctions between the passes, maybe slightly. Now feel the one I did the first time, and they're not pronounced at all, but yeah, now you can feel those just a little bit. So as far as the appearance, this cutter and the setup is not going to yield a really smooth finish anyway. But just thought I'd point that out. I got a bunch more of these to grind out, so I'll get back with you when we're ready to do something interesting. Well, we're back to it. I've got all these plates made that will eventually become fingers. This particular one will be sliced into a 4-inch and a 2-inch and a 1-inch. So they built this fixture. I don't remember what I was doing at the time that I needed the fixture, but I built it some time ago. Some trash down in there. Anyway, it's not, you know, real accurate, but it's pretty darn close. And what I did is I made some 45-degree brackets for the ends, and then I put the bracket, I milled the brackets so they were at a real close angle, and the plate's pretty straight, so it came out just fine. I also have a set of 30, 60, 90 legs for it. There we go. Get that up there a little bit. That's looking pretty good. Okay, and now I'm going to clamp it down below here, and then well, before I clamp it, I'm going to dial it in. That's what I started to do. So I'm going to sweep across here and get it nice and square. It's pretty, I got the left side clamped down, so I'm just going to tap the right side over. There we go. Okay, zero down. There's a little bit of bow in it, a couple thousandths. We're on. The ends are even, and the bow's a little bit. It's a little bit of bow right in the middle, actually about 10 thousandths. But if I keep the plate I'm working on centered in here and clamp it on the edges, I think we should be okay. We're good there. I'm going to take another 10 thousandths for a cleanup pass, and then from here on, all the pieces that we cut will be cut at this number right here. So I'm going to set the DRO up. Well, off camera, I've been finishing up a bunch of these fingers. This is one of the 8-inch ones. And I got it kind of set up in a system here where I can just square it up against the edge of the vise. Tighten it up. And we're coming in a 1/2 inch from this surface here and from this end. And then we're going to go over 2 inches, and then we're going to go over 3 inches, and then another inch. So we wind up a 1/2 inch in from each end and 2 inches in from each end. Whether I'll actually use them that way or not, I don't know. But okay, I have it zeroed at the first 1/2 inch in, and I have it zeroed when I touched off with the edge finder, and so that brings me out to 4/10 instead of 5/10 to account for the thickness of the edge finder. So we're ready to rock and roll here. Spot it. We're drilling an F drill, which is the clearance drill for a 1/4 inch screw. It just gives us a little extra, a couple thousandths extra. And as I'm already sitting here and using my quill readout to give myself another 10 thousandths on the chamfer. Okay, there's 2 inches. So we have a 1 inch, 1 inch, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches, 2 inch, 4 inch, and 3 8-inchers. With that, I can make about any combination I want. Do a little deburring, and these are all completely done. I'm also marking them just for entertainment. We'll start boring. We'll start drilling and tapping holes across here for these to mount on. And then we are getting very dangerously close to done. So now we're on to the last major machining operation, and this is to drill the clamp bar for the fingers to bolt onto it. Starting out with, I measured how far the end of the bar sits into the lever that holds it, and it was 0.156. So I'm going to give myself just a little more. Just want to make just sanity check here. It looks like we're pretty darn close. So I'm going to spot these two holes and drill and tap them, and then I will probably use one of the fingers to space them the rest of the way over. I mean, I could do it every ½ inch along the x-axis, but if the mill is just a hair out of tram somewhere, by the time I get to the far end, the y-axis could be out of whack. So I think it's, well, we'll see how it goes, but I'll check the fit certainly along the way. These are all 1/4 inch 20 holes. I'm going to be drilling with a number 7 drill, and don't know if I'm going to drill them and tap them on at the same time, or how I'm going to do that. We'll figure it out. Anyway, it's a blind hole, so we don't have any or not a blind hole, but it's a through hole, so we don't have to worry about you know, getting right to the bottom of a hole with threads. I have a lot of gun taps in here, so I suspect I have a 1/4 20 gun tap that I can run down in there and possibly power tap it. So we'll see. Anyway, first things first, we're going to spot the holes. Actually need to leave that on there. I could take it off once I got the hole spotted. A little loose, tighten it up just a hair. I want it to be able to slip. Should have caught that earlier. I'm kind of thinking that once I get this down, I'm going to leave one tool in and just work my way down as far as I can. I'll have to set it up at a new place halfway down anyway. And okay, now before we go any further, I'm going to get a couple of 1/4 20 screws and mount this up and make sure it fits good. So I'd hate to drill 2 holes wrong, but I'd hate more to drill 30 hole or 20, 15 holes, whatever it is, 15 holes wrong. I think that's going to fit pretty well. Let's see what our side clearance looks like. Make sure we're far enough over. $162, we need to be 156, so that gives us a little extra room. Perfectly okay with that. So I think I'm going to walk down here and spot all these holes, come back, drill all the holes, tap all the holes, chamfer all the holes one at a time. Okay, let's go with that for now. And I'll come back and recheck the last 2 holes here and make sure they're okay. Nice thing about the gun tap is it has that little flute that goes the opposite direction and pushes the cuttings out the bottom. Now I'm not putting a whole lot of force on that when I do this, by the way. I'm just touching it enough to get it to move the right direction. That's about it. So there's what it kicks out the bottom of the hole. All right, so now we're going to chamfer the holes, and then we've got to check on things. Okay, all those holes are done. Cleaning these holes up and get a set up and drill another set down there, and I'll check after half a dozen or so, make sure it's still okay spacing wise from the edge. Well, there you see it, the final finished product. And thanks for tuning in and watching this series. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment if you have something to say you think I might like to hear. And till the next project, happy trails.